So today at Empire is the Way, I had David Alexander, man. We've really touched on subjects like, for example, entrepreneurship, that the 1% mindset when it comes to changing lives and being in business, being successful, making sure your family's good, taken care of, accountable in a city like Miami. This is a very, very, very specific and one-of-a-kind hub. And he has a facility here in the Design District, DBC Fitness. I mean, he's spoken about his programs, the coaching that he's doing, the certificate programs, leveling people up, talking about leaders, creating leaders. He is looking to build leaders from the fitness industry. And he's coached people like Dwyane Wade. They've name dropping him in a book. Just give him credit to him. And it's not just him, but his system of training that's very specific, very geared towards excellence. And today's conversation, man, you'll check it out. Dropped a lot of gems, a lot of fire here on Empire is the Way. I can't wait for you to check it out.
DBC stands for Dumbbells, Barbells, and Cables. It's funny because people think it's a spinoff of my name, or it's an independent training facility in the sense that the clients work directly with the trainer.
People have to earn. To me, it's very important that they earn their way.
If you spoon feed somebody, they're never going to really enjoy the meal.
When you get a new client and you do an eval and assess them, explain to them, like, I want to give you a better quality of life.
Welcome to the Empire. Empire is the Way. And today my guest is David Alexander, training people for 25 years. He's the owner, CEO, founder of DBC training facility, very specified training facility. And he is pretty much the powerhouse behind the brand. So David, man, thanks for showing up. I appreciate you coming in.
Man, appreciate you having me, bro.
Absolutely. So we were just talking about the actual business, right? What does DBC stand for?
DBC stands for Dumbbells, Barbells, and Cables. It's funny because people think it's like a spinoff of my name or spinoff of, it's literally just the equipment that I was writing down, which is basically speaks to who we are, and it's biomechanics. So there's no machines in the place. So it's literally dumbbells, barbells, cables.
Yeah. So it's just basic acronym. Is just the basic things that you need at the gym.
Exactly.
And you've been training people for 25 plus years.
Yeah. I'm 48. Been doing it since college. It's been 25 years.
What got you into like how did you get started into like training people?
For me, like I was always, like most kids back in the 80s, like you play every sport and you're active and you do things. I was just always into like my health and just improving my body and stuff like that. I joined a gym when I was like 13 years old. But when I got into college, I kind of didn't know what I was going to study, and I got dropped into like an anatomy class. And then right then I was just intrigued, switched over into kinesiology, and that was that. I knew like I wanted to improve the function of people's lives. So it was something like some people accidentally become a trainer. I think it's something I knew I was always going to do even as like a young youth. And then, like I said, when I got into that class, I was just so intrigued by human anatomy that I knew I wanted to train.
You've been pretty much in this business for the past 9 years. You're about to hit year 10. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And you just basically you became full owner, I guess, of the B.
I recently did, yeah. Right. So DBC will have its 10-year anniversary this February, which is crazy. It's how Apple does your iPhone will send like a memory. The photo of the first spot we had on the Design District when it was just a raw shell popped up in my phone. And I was like, holy shit, it's been 10 years. So it's been crazy. It's gone by so fast, but so much has happened. And yeah, I'm now, my partner wanted to go in a separate direction. So we just finalized that. So I now own it outright. So super exciting.
Yeah, man. Congratulations
Thanks,
on that.
Man. Thanks.
Yeah. That's really dope. You had a spot first, you opened up the first one in the Design District?
Yeah. It's always been in the district. So the first one was at the bottom of 39th. The one that we're in now is at the top of 39th. And that one, the first one was, if it first started out, the first DBC was just one box that was basically 2,800 square feet. And then as the brand grew, it grew really, really fast. We had an opportunity to take the store directly adjacent to us. And that was another 3,000 square feet. So then we built that recovery side. And we flourished there again so fast that I went to the landlord and I was like, I need more square footage. So last June, he got us up to the top of 39th. Now we have 10,000 square. So
Yeah.
it's like my dream finally to have space.
That's amazing. And actually in the design district, that's very, very hard to come by.
Yeah. Yeah, I was very lucky. So my client at the time, good friend, and the genius behind the design district is Craig Robbins. In 2014, I got introduced to him. And the district it's not what it is now by any means. And I remember I sat in his office and I just pitched to him what my brand was. And I owe that guy everything because he saw the vision of the brand, believed in us, and gave me that opportunity to be in there back in 2014. I met him. 2015, we opened. So that moment was one of those like pivotal moments. Like I think if the brand didn't end up in the design district, it wouldn't be the luxury boutique it is. Like if it ended up, in another neighborhood, it would have just been a great gym. And I think we would have, continued to flourish it. But I think it being in the district makes it a different level.
That's very interesting. So what would you say? What would you say about the phrase that people say, it's all about location, location, location?
It's all about fucking location. I think when you're establishing a brand, it is all about location. My facility, anyone that knows anything about DBC, it's a private boutique. There's no memberships, there's no enrollments. You almost have to be invited to come in and or inquire and then go through a consultation. So it's an independent training facility in the sense that the clients work directly with the trainer. So someone can't come, like for example, you can't come in and work out by yourself. So it's very private in that sense. And so for me, I wanted that Louis Vuitton, that Rolex, that Balenciaga feel to the brand. Like when you go into those stores, there's a certain entitlement you feel. And that was important for me that our clients felt that when they came through the door, because it's not one of these spots that you can just pay some money and get into. So I wanted to make sure it was really private. Now we have the brand where I think it can go anywhere and it'll thrive. Like people are now coming for the results they get from their trainers and from the amenities we provide. So I think we could literally drop it anywhere. But I think in business, and when you're establishing something, the neighborhood and who your traffic is going to be is very important.
Absolutely. There's one thing there's one thing to train people, one thing to be a business owner, to be an entrepreneur, and then to establish a brand.
Yeah.
What has been your journey into the evolution of David to be able to hold up that kind of brand under your tutelage,
Being resilient to stress. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I think to really establish a brand, become a business person, be a true entrepreneur, you're the 1%. You're the person that is willing to do anything and everything 15 hours a day for as long as it takes until it gets done to the capacity of which you set that goal to be. And that's how I'm wired. And like even now, like we're doing great. We have 3 locations, but I have 100 new goals for the business and scaling it. So it doesn't mean just because we now are thriving and making money that you can take your foot off the gas. Like you have to maintain that 1% mentality and understand like the minute you stop dumping everything you have into your company and or business and or brand, someone else will pass you up or the brand will start to regress. Excuse me. So for me, I think it's just a lot of people want to own a business, start a brand that, especially with social media, like they want their likeness to increase, but they're really not willing to work and put in that time. And I think I just saw this quote on Instagram. It said something like, people are jealous of what you have, but they're not jealous of how you got it. And that resonated with me because nobody really knows like the sleepless nights, the debt, paying this off, getting that, arguments, everyone just sees the successes, but there were so many hurdles and obstacles. And again, sleepless nights that I had to go through to get to where it is now. And that's the 1%. I think not everybody has that.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, you have a family that you take care of.
Yeah.
You have, your personal responsibilities, but then you had a whole facility with people whose lives depend on you.
Yeah.
And I said livelihoods depend on you.
That's a crazy story that you just said that. So some know the story, some don't, but just recently we went under a shutdown and a lot of people don't know this. So we got shut down by the city for like 3 weeks because there was just some permitting issues when we were building out. There was just contractor issues. We'll leave it at that. Mm-hmm. But we essentially got shut down where the city came in and was basically, hey, you can't operate in here. This building's been deemed unsafe until you get this organized. Now I have 27 coaches, trainers, people, humans, friends that have families. This is how they make their livelihood. And they chained up the door. And a lot of people don't know the story because this literally just happened. That moment, I didn't even care about me. I couldn't sleep thinking about the 27 people. So that 1% mentality, I was like, nah, fuck this. I scrambled and I secured 2 locations for all my trainers. I spent an uncomfortable amount of money securing these places so my trainers could go take their clients. And we had huge success in that moment in the fact that I saw the fabric of my business, but more importantly, the people that stood next to me, because every single one of them stayed 10 toes down. They could have abandoned me, right? All my trainers could be like, fuck this, we're closed, I'm gonna go this. Not one of them wavered. And that's when I was like, we've built something special. It was 2 weeks, it was quick. We ended up getting everything sorted out with the city, got reopened fast. Contractors took care of stuff, lawyers took care of everything. And we're back thriving even at a higher level now. But to that point is like, you don't realize that the people that are working alongside of you, and I say alongside of me, not beneath me, because these are truly like my family. Those people working alongside of me, their success is probably more important than my own. So in those moments when you see one that's maybe not, functioning at the level he or she should be at based off my expectation for them, I'll push them, I'll stay on them for those reasons. Is like, I want to bring the full potential out of everyone around me. So not only is it my own stress of my own business, it's the 27 people just here in Miami, my San Diego location, my Northern California location. Like, I genuinely care about their well-being and their success. So that's again, goes back to that 1%. A lot of people don't realize all that shit you got to deal with.
What did it feel like as soon as they put the chain on the door?
Bro, I just told this story at we just had an education seminar. Outside the day my mom passed, that was the hardest moment of my life. It was the most like deflating moment. And I knew I was going to be okay. Like, I knew me, David Alexander, would have been fine. Like, I know how to make money. It was that moment that I felt I failed 27 people that believe in me. People, the trainers at DBC, they pay rent to be there. They don't have to be there. They pay me to be there, right? That's how the business is, and we can talk about that later. But that moment I was like, how the fuck did this happen? And anyone who's done business in Miami knows, man, you cannot put your trust into anyone. You have to get that shit done yourself. I put my trust into the wrong contractors. I put my trust into the wrong architects. I put my trust into I pay people to get shit done because I have to focus on other stuff. And because I took my eye off those people and I assumed they were handling things, it caused my business to suffer a 2-week shutdown. But again, that moment, almost reinvented me. An Angel, who Elevation, he was one of the guys that opened his doors to me immediately. I called him. He didn't even charge me. And I said, just give me a number. I don't care what it costs. Can my trainers come here? He's like, bro, you're good. That guy opened his fucking door. That guy, I'd give that guy a kidney if he needs one. Most people in our industry, they'll shake your hand and they want to be your friend, but they want you to fail. People want you only successful until you pass them up. This guy could have easily been like, hey man, we can't do it, right? And the next gym could have said, hey man, we can't do it. I had two businesses, another one called Co-Fitness. They opened their doors right away. And it was such a beautiful moment because one, I saw again, the fabric of my coaches, everyone pulled together, the clients pulled together. If you've been in my business, it's a beautiful spot. It's hard to replicate. You're not going to go into another place that looks, smells, sounds, and feels like DBC. In my opinion, it's the Four Seasons of private boutiques. So to now go into other places, the clients were cool with it. And when I saw that, I was like, man, we really have a culture and a community. Some people preach culture and preach community. Nah, every person stayed 10 toes down next to me. But that moment was fucking hard, dude. I remember I went home and I was just but I didn't have time to if you're that 1%, fuck that. I'm not feeling sorry for me. I had to lock the fuck in, do what I had to do to get back open as fast as possible and make sure my people could still thrive. And, we were able to achieve it in I think 2 or 3 weeks, which is unheard of in the city of Miami, unheard of. But I just locked in. And so.
How hard is it or how easy was it to pivot? Because that's a hard pivot,
Yeah. Again, I think it wasn't hard because there was no option. right? Like you just, in those moments, it's almost like kill or be killed. So I could have just folded up and been like, boo-hoo. Or it was just point, like I just locked in. And I paid attention in that moment. There was a lot of people that you see who's who in the moments of adversity and stress. It's easy for people to be right there alongside of you when the money's flowing and success is going on. And there's, celebrities and this and that. But when you're not on top and there's adversity and there's stress, you see who's who. So for me, I learned a lot about myself in that moment, but I learned a lot about who is next to me and who belongs next to me. And so for me in business, I almost feel bad for any business owner who doesn't go through that experience. Now, mind you, I've been doing business just at DBC 10 years, but I've been in the fitness industry 25 years. I thought I've seen it all. That fucking moment was the most valuable moment in my career because it taught me what I needed to do to really be a leader, but it also taught me that at any moment, all this shit can go away, all of it, and to never get comfortable. And I live by that. I made a shirt years ago. It said, familiarity breeds disrespect. And a good friend of mine who's a mentor to me in business, a guy named Maverick Carter, he taught me that slogan. And I made a shirt of it because it's the truth. The minute you get comfortable, familiarity breeds disrespect. You take your foot off the gas, you take your eye off the prize, and shit can go away quick, man. So that moment for me, like I said, outside of, I watched my mother literally watch her take her last breath. That I thought was the hardest moment. That seeing that chain hit my door for 2 weeks was, that was gnarly.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's amazing how you could pivot and get things done. You're a man of action, so obviously it shows.
Yeah.
So you got that DBC is very different because it trains people one-on-one. So your coaches need to be there. They specialize. Do they also need to have like certain, because I know you do certifications, I want to get into that, but do they also need to come in with a certain amount of certification, certain amount of schooling before they can actually train, or how does that work?
No, to answer your question, no. When I first was establishing the brand, it was super important for me that people had 4-year degrees. They had 2 years experience. They had, 3 national certifications and all that stuff. And that's still very important to me. Education is everything to me. But people always ask me, like, what do I got to do to be a trainer at DBC? And for me, I don't care how smart you are. I see some of the most brilliant resumes. If I could show you the stack of resumes I have on my desk, people with their master's degree, 15 years experience, blah, 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 blah. But they don't have that one thing I can't teach, and that's to truly care and give a fuck. I look for the energy in people. Where I'm at now is I can teach anyone about biomechanics, strength conditioning, recovery, tissue. I can mold you into being the best coach, but I can't teach you to care. And I can't teach you to genuinely love this thing the way I love it. And if you come in the facility, you'll see every one of the coaches we have genuinely love it. They're not in there because, Dwyane Wade could walk in or Chris Paul could walk. They're not in there for that. They're in there because they genuinely love enhancing people's lives. They love their clients and they love the culture we've created. So education's important to me, but if I had 2 resumes on my desk and there was a guy with his PhD who just had a horrible energy to him, and there was a guy with just 1 national certification but just had that thing, I'm taking this guy because I can teach him. I can't teach him. Yeah. And that's important.
It's funny, I run into parallels like that with my tattoo artist as well.
Yeah.
You got to be able to be a personable artist. You might have the best art, but if you can't connect with the people and care about what you do, I don't care how good you are. It just doesn't work.
We're in the business of energy, man. I talk about this I'm actually teaching a workshop. It used to be called the Principles of the Trainer. It's now called Empire, oddly enough.
Nice.
And there's a book called The Energy Bus, written by a guy, I believe Josh Gordon. No, it wasn't Josh. Yeah, I think it's Josh Gordon. Phenomenal. And it just talks about we're in the business of energy. And if you don't know how to manage your energy, I can't manage his energy, and you don't know how to connect to people, you'll truly never be successful in business. Like, if you deal with people, then you've got to know how to manage energy on both sides. And I remember that book taught me so much. I read it like 10, 15 years ago. And I give it out all the time. It's just one of those game changers.
Your vibe creates your tribe. So
there it is.
You're creating the tribe of What would you say is your mantra? Like what is your culture all about?
Two things. I would say number one, be a good person, and number two, get shit done. I'm the most meticulous, like OCD, like I see fucking everything. Like I see every single detail to a point. I hold people to the standard in which I hold myself to. And I think that's not for everyone. If you're okay being mediocre or you're okay just doing enough, I'm not the guy you want to work alongside with, because I'm going to hold you to the flame, because I want to bring the fucking best out in you. I tell a lot of my coaches and any of the interns that's ever worked, so our intern program, they got to spend about a year underneath me. And I tell my interns, I'm like, be worried if I'm not talking to you. Because if I'm not talking to you and I'm not nitpicking you, it means I probably don't give a fuck about your success, because that means I've tried and you just haven't shown that effort back. Mm-hmm. But for me is like, I don't look at just what I'm trying to do. I need that person to my right and my left to operate at that same level. Like I need you to never be comfortable. Every time you walk in the door, you have to find a way to be getting better. Because if not, I'm going to find it for you and I'm going to point it out. So I'm hard on people because I genuinely care about seeing people reach their full potential. Because it's easy, it's easy to be mediocre, right? Like if you think about it, most people are okay, and this is nothing. Most people are okay making $100,000 a year. That's a great living. Like that's a healthy living. If you can make $100,000 a year, you could have a great house, a great car. Like you can have great things. You can travel. But why are you okay making $100,000 a year if one point in your life you made 50, right? And you found 50 to work for you, but then you got to 100. So why now okay at 100? So for me, it's like, why are you not setting a new 30, 60, 90, 120 day, 360 day goal? Like every year you got to fucking elevate. Every year you've got to find a way to get better. Because if not, then you become mediocre. You become complacent. Like I don't have to do what I do. I could easily just live off the distributions of my business. I could just sit back and kick it. But I still train full time, 9 months out of the year. 3 months I focus on business. I'm still in the trenches. Like I still I love this. Like I still love working one-on-one with people. So if I'm not getting complacent at 48, there's nothing that bothers me more than when you see like a 30-year-old that is entitled and or just starts to like become complacent or gets an ego, and it's like, you're 30 and like what? Like how are you getting comfortable? Like how are you taking your foot off the fucking gas right now? So for me, it's I tell people when they come in, like I'm not easy to work with because I'm gonna hold you to the same standard I hold myself. And that's not for everyone.
That's amazing. Even at $100,000, that's like I think that's like 10% of the population.
Yeah.
But really we're talking about the 1%, and even the 1% has a 1%.
Yeah.
So there's always room to grow.
Yeah.
How do you stay uncomfortable? How do you embrace the discomfort and stay, because at the end of the day, you make it your religion. That's your way of life. That's, embracing the discomfort zone. How do you stay there?
I think personally for me is like, I love setting a goal and getting to it. Like there's some, and my goals aren't financial. My goals have never been financial. Yeah. When I started out as a trainer, I was making $12 an hour and driving like a Honda 1988, like Honda Accord. Like I didn't have shit. So if I never was like, oh, I want to work hard so I can get that car or buy that. I didn't care about that. I just cared about, can I set a goal and can I get there? Right. And then when I did that one, for me, it was like, all right, what could be a little harder to do? Okay. Can you build a brand? Okay. Yeah. Can you own a gym? Great. Can you build another gym? Great. Now for me, like not to get too far away from your question, but like my why right now is developing my trainers. Like I have them all now creating logos, building their brands, building their education under the umbrella of DBC. That is like so rewarding for me as an owner. Cause most owners, they talk about like culture and I got your back and this and that. Like, all right, like, are you really giving your coaches the opportunity to make the same amount of money you make and the same opportunities? 99% of them aren't. So for me, it's like, if I can see one of my coaches get exactly where I'm at, that's an amazing feeling. That's my why right now. That's kind of what I'm into right now, is like building other people up to my level, because I want to see them pass me up. Like my coaches, I want to see them pass me up.
That's amazing, because leaders build leaders.
Yeah.
And you're in the business of building leaders.
Yeah, man. Like you own a business, like how rewarding is it to take an artist that, was probably mediocre, didn't have a following, didn't have a likeness, was good at art, probably amazing at art, but nobody saw that potential. And you saw that. You gave him or her an opportunity. You brought him into your shop. You probably put them around the right artist. You mentored them. Now they have 1 million followers and a fucking waiting list of a year. Like, that's because of you. That's rewarding to me.
It's I wouldn't even take full credit for that. It's kind of like we give them the opportunity. Like when I tell my artists, I'm like, hey, I can only give you opportunity, but I can't make you drink that water. You know what I'm saying? I can't force you to do that. You got to want it. And the more you want it, the more I'm willing to meet you halfway and just kind of, teach. Because people have to earn. To me, it's very important that they earn their way. Otherwise, they'll never appreciate it.
Brother. 100%. I believe, if you spoon feed somebody, they're never going to really enjoy the meal.
Yeah.
And I've spoon fed a lot of people in the past, and those people are no longer around me because the minute I took the spoon away, the entitlement, the ego, it just hit a level that was like, I can't fathom it. Like, I gave a lot of opportunity to a lot of people at different points in my life. And that was my fault because I spoon fed versus just providing opportunity. Now I provide opportunity, but I don't give them the whole plate because I want them to know what it feels like to put that on their plate because they're going to enjoy that meal more. Yeah,
absolutely. And then they could also teach that later on.
Yeah.
Because they won't have the tools. How can they, you can't teach what you don't know. And they're always going to think, society's against me, entitlement. Oh, this guy's a dick or this guy's an asshole.
Crazy.
And it's just what it is,
Yeah.
So, you're a father, you're a family man. Yeah. I want to revert back to the gym, but I'm curious. You have 2 daughters.
Yep.
Congrats.
Thanks, man.
How do you also take some of that knowledge of not spoon feeding and keep your kids accountable, making sure that they're growing, that they earn their way in certain ways? Because I have a daughter too, and it's hard with the girls, man. Yes or no?
It is, man. It's like both my kids. I'm very lucky, man. I'm sure every dad says it, but like my girls they're such good people, dude. Like for me, it was, I think my content guy and I were just talking about this the other day. I mean, on the ride over here, I was telling him that our job as parents is to break the generational curses. That's my opinion, right? Mm-hmm. Like we were raised a certain way and my parent was raised a certain way and so forth. For me, I wanted to take the good parts of how I was raised, but there were so many different things I wanted to do different. So I always said my job is to prepare my daughters for the world, not hide them from it. So like the conversations I have with them, the things I introduce them to, I treat them like young adults. Like I let them have opinions. I'll never tell my daughters, you have to do this. I give them options. Hey, here's your 3 options, you pick. But I want to make sure like they have decisions, they have choices, they have backbones, integrity, morals. So for me, it was important, like, especially with girls, like you want to give them everything.
Yeah.
Like I want to give my daughters the world, and I do. But I make sure they understand how hard I have to work to provide that stuff for them. I think like some people are like, oh, you shouldn't spoil your kid and give them this and that. Like, fuck yeah, I'm going to spoil my kid. But I'm also going to make sure they understood what I had to do to give them that. I'm not going to, put my kid in a shitty car if I can afford something better, just to teach her the value of $1. I'm not doing that because I didn't have a choice growing up. Like we were dirt poor growing up. So I had to spend $1,400 on my mom. I'll never forget my first car. My mom, it was a $1,400 1986 Toyota pickup, piece of shit. Fucking great car though. But I remember that moment. It was $1,400. That's all we can afford. So for me, it was like, hey, let's prepare. I want my kids to see it all because I also don't want some dude to come through and impress them. You know what I mean? Like I've been very lucky where my kids have seen certain luxuries, and I introduce them to that because I don't want my daughters to ever be impressed by a dollar amount. Like to me, like Miami, like shit.
Yeah.
I don't want my daughters ever see a yacht and be like, oh my God, I want to go on that boat.
Right.
Shit, no. Like, oh my God, I'm going to go to a Drake concert. Nope, you're going to go right now with me and you're going to experience that and feel that. So you're not impressed by that. So for me, it's like, I'm going on a tangent with it, but my job is to prepare them for the world, not hide them from it.
No, it's amazing, man.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
So dirt poor Toyota pickup, $1,400. Where did you?
It's a true story.
Now, how long have you been in Miami? I mean,
I've been in Miami almost 20 years. Well, yeah, almost 20 years. I came here in 2005. I was here for a few years. I went back to California. That's actually, I met my wife here. We got engaged and we went back to California because I had an opportunity for some employment out there. Stayed out there for 2 years and both of us were just like, man, she was born and raised Miami. So she was like, and I was the same way. Like I missed it.
Right.
And for me, what I wanted to do, I always knew I was going to be with professional athletes. My 3 choices were LA, Arizona, or Miami. And that was a no-brainer.
But you grew up in California? Or?
Yeah, I grew up in San Francisco. I grew up in the Marin County, a place called Novato, California.
So now, I mean, San Francisco, it's you know, right now it looks like there's no opportunities or some.
Zero.
Everybody's moving this way.
Yeah.
What is your viewpoint on where it is right now?
The city?
And where it was, yeah.
Man, San Francisco was the cool. So I grew up in a town called Novato. It's in Marin County, which is 40 minutes north of the Golden Gate Bridge. When I finished college, I actually lived in the city for 4 or 5 years. San Francisco was, I think, the best city during like 2002 to like 2007. And then after that, it was still thriving. COVID fucking destroyed it. I knew the city, in my opinion, wasn't what it used to be when some of the biggest VCs I knew were leaving the Bay to come here. Mm-hmm. It's on a comeback, but I don't think it'll ever have that opportunity and spark that it had. I just think, again, I don't ever speak about politics or religion, but I think politically they ran that place into the ground. I mean, to a point, like how many cities, you walk in and fucking go rob a Walgreens and you're not allowed to, like that. That was fucking, I remember my brother and my friends were sending me videos because they all still live out there. Mm-hmm. And like people are just walking in and just fucking grabbing stuff and stealing. And like the biggest mall there, the Westfield Center, shut down. That would be like if the Aventura Mall closed. Yeah. That's how big that mall is.
I remember going there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to do Half Dome and stuff, but it looked, it was gloomy. The city was very gloomy.
I go back every year for the holidays to go see my brother and his family. I remember the last time I went through, I was like, yo, this is like the apocalypse. Fucking tense, just fucking homeless people. Like you're watching people like crack heroin on the street. Like it's nuts. I hope it makes a comeback. That's my home. I love it.
How did they allow it to get to that point, man?
Whoever's running it, mayors, governors, like whoever, they just, it's when, again, I'm not a political person, but I'm intelligent enough to know it starts with the leadership, right? Like some of the shit, like again, just the looting was insane. And these people aren't getting fucking arrested. Like that was not, and the part that killed me is one of my closest friends owns a tattoo shop there. The guy who did all my stuff. Mm-hmm. He owns a place called Seven Son, Luke Stewart. And I remember he was telling me, he was like, bro, like we have to like sleep in the shop because you don't know who's gonna fucking come through your window during like the worst of it.
Yeah.
Now these dudes are all like top MMA guys. So
right.
Probably not the shop you want to break into. But
that's nuts.
Yeah, man. They just ran that fucking city into the ground.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's sad to see because it's like I have so many great memories of that place. And it's just it's just not what it was.
So is Miami home for you now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would never, knock on wood, right? I would never leave Miami. I think Miami is so special. Like when you get people who aren't from Miami and they move here, usually after like 3 years, they're like, oh, I hate the people. I can't do that. I don't want to hear that. Go anywhere else in the world, you will never find what this city has. And I'm a firm believer, once you build your bubble, meaning your network of friends, your restaurants, the things you love, there is no city that offers more opportunity than South Florida, especially Miami. Everybody here is just getting shit done. People know how to get to the money here. And I think if you're one of those 1%ers, there's no better place to become an entrepreneur because you're going to be able to get into the right rooms, cultivate the right relationships that will allow you to enhance your life through business because the opportunities that are provided here. And now with all the you got Bezos here, Elon Musk is here, like real money's in this city now.
Yeah.
There's just no better place. I'll take a few hurricanes over earthquakes any day. Fuck that.
Absolutely.
I've been in some earthquakes.
And actually, a lot of the hurricanes that have been coming by, they've been skipping us. So we've been good. We've been good for quite a while. But again, it sucks right now for Tampa area. They got hit. Hopefully they're okay or at least as best as possible. Yeah. You're saying the money's coming in, a lot of influences coming in. Miami's like no place.
Yeah.
You built your bubble. Not a bubble, but you build your culture. You have your brand here, and you're also doing a lot of educational. Mm-hmm. You're teaching courses, different types of levels of the courses. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing as far as that?
For me, it was really, really important when I established DBC and the brand. It was about creating independence for trainers. So the business is each DBC, Miami, we'll just stick with there, is every trainer in there is independent. They pay me rent to belong to that brand. In return, they get a state-of-the-art facility. They get brand support. They get an abundance of leads, but more importantly, they get around a culture of trainers that can help elevate one another. We are probably the most non-competitive environment you'll ever walk into. And because I've done this as long as I have, and I started in the corporate setting, I've worked at everything from a 24-hour fitness to the Sports Club LA to the Western Athletic Clubs. One of the things I saw was just how trainers would compete against each other. And that was something I was like, when I have my own brand, my own space, that's not gonna happen in here. I never want to see somebody shit on somebody else. And that happens because when you go to a normal gym, right, you look across and if one trainer's doing something, the other trainer will tell his client, oh, that's stupid, or I can do it better.
Right.
No. We're not doing that in here. We all share clients to a fact that almost every athlete I've trained, going all the way up to LeBron, I have given them to another one of my trainers to have that moment. Not a lot of people would do that, right? Every athlete I've worked with, my coaches have had their opportunity to work with those athletes because I'm a firm believer of only your insecurity will create you to compete against somebody that is to your right or your left, right? And for me, that's what a lot of gyms are. It's a bunch of insecure trainers that have to shit on one another to compete. We're not going to do that. So that was the first and foremost for me, was to create a brand that truly had a culture to it. But then number two, because I ran some of these corporate facilities, I saw how much the corporate environment takes from trainers. And you got to go through it, right? At some point as a trainer, you got to go in, you got to get to a business that's going to provide you clients, provide you some education, do this. But in return, they're going to take 60, 70, 80% of your money. And I remember the moment I was running a place called the Sports Club LA. And my top trainer at that time was this guy named Alan Angelis, who works for me at DBC now, works with me at DBC. This guy was doing about 240 sessions a month. That's a lot of fun. That's a lot, right? Just do the math on that. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, I think at that time we were charging X for him and he was being paid X. But for those hours, I remember his paycheck was like $6,000 for the month. And I was like, you just do basic math. If it was $100 an hour and he did 240, right, hours, you're talking about this guy was probably making $24,000 a month. But he wasn't being paid that. I'm like, all right, there's got to be a way where I can create something where trainers don't have to do that. And so for me, it was like, all right, let's figure out a fair number. So all my trainers pay $2,100 a month. And the way I came up with that number was the average trainer, let's just say back when I established a brand, charge $100 an hour. They see roughly 5 people a day. So that's me taking $20 a session. That's me taking $100 a day times 5, 500 a week times 4, 2,000 a month. And then I scale about $100 a year now. But most of my coaches do roughly 10 hours a day, over 200 an hour. So for me, it was like, you know what? If they're willing to work hard, they should be rewarded, not me. Yeah. Meaning I'm not going to take 20 per session. It's not going to keep going up. And that was important. I think that's why I have a low attrition. I think in my 10 years, I've only turned over 10 trainers, like one a year, maybe. But for the most part, it's just like, give people opportunities, man.
So there probably is some type of competition of trainers trying to get in.
Yeah.
That's a whole different.
Yeah.
What does it take for a trainer to say, you know what, I really want to get in there. Wow, that business model is really good.
Yeah.
They got to bring their A game.
Yeah.
We spoke about that. They got to have a better attitude first. But do they have to go through your accreditation program in order for them to get a shot?
Yeah, sorry, I totally veered off the education part. So once they become part of the brand, they get all the education for free. So our level 1 is the intro to biomechanics. So we basically teach the anatomy, the physiology, and the biomechanics to the 7 general movement patterns, which is squat, lunge, bend, push, pull, twist, and gait. And that's where I think our coaches excel at the highest level, and the coaches that come through and get certified, because everybody thinks they know how to coach a squat until you actually learn the right way to coach a squat and how we can decrease non-contact injuries, being the guy that wants to play pickleball, the advocate tennis player, the professional athlete, right? It all starts with how we're coaching these exercises. And most people don't understand the basic foundation and or the kinematics required to these movements. So that was important for me when I was, designing this stuff back in the past. I'm like, man, there's got to be a way for us to connect 100% of the applicable information to these trainers. So going back to that is just, that's the level 1. The level 2 is actually how we collect the information, and that's 50 orthopedic measurements. We measure everything through the body. And then level 3 is, is my favorite. It's the sport performance athlete development. So it's actually enhancing the development of a client. So once they become a trainer, they get all that education for free. But it is important for us, and for me especially, and the reason being is because we do share clients. So if you work with me for 6 months, and let's just say I got to travel, and I go, hey, you're going to work with Nimai. Nimai is going to coach that squat the exact same way I did, right? So you're not going to be like, whoa, well, David taught me different. And I remember, like, when I was training Dwyane Wade, there'd be times where, I'd have to be somewhere else, so I would send Elise to work with him. Or I'd send Nimai or someone, and it was the same thing. He was happy. And that was, I remember he stood that out. I mean, he pointed it out to me. He's like, man, it's just, the system is the system.
Yeah, I was going to say, because usually when you have high performance, top tier athletes from any level, they'll be like, oh no, I just want to, train with David Alexander. Do you get a lot of that? I mean, how?
No, man. No? That was important to me is people come to DBC for the system. They don't come there for me. And that was important. Like there's athletes that definitely will reach out to me directly. Mm-hmm. And I love that. But there's a lot of times where I'll be like, hey, where'd this guy come from, or that guy? And it's just, my team has done a great job of cultivating their own relationships with agents and players. And they've done a great job at increasing their likeness on social media. So it's people come through for the system. And that for me was important, was because I didn't want people coming just for David Alexander. Like there's only one me, and there's only 6 good training hours in the day for me, that I only can take on usually in an off season 5 clients, because I go above and beyond for my clients, like everything from the table work to the tissue to the preparation so I know what my threshold is. I'm not 37 anymore. I'm 48, and I need to deliver the same energy to my 9 a.m. that I can do to my 2 p.m.
Right.
So my threshold usually, like in an NBA offseason, 6 clients max, NFL 5 clients max. And so I've got to be able to funnel the rest off, because, we have 200-300 athletes a year come through. And I have a great squad that handles it. So
yeah. And then a lot of these top tier athletes, when they come in, is there a lot of work you have to do to correct them, or you're just enhancing and pushing their development further? Like,
yeah.
What is the main thing that?
No, absolutely, man. It's for someone's first time coming, it's usually a shit show. It's usually their mechanics are so off that a lot of work goes in. For the repeat clients that, athletes that come every year, like, guys like Royce O'Neal, Tim Hardaway Jr., these guys, I know their bodies so well. So it's like, okay, cool. You just got out of the season. Let's address this, that, and the third. But I think the greatest compliment I ever got was in D. Wade, in his book, quoted that, I saved his career in 2016. And that was unbelievable for me. Like, this was a guy that had so many knee issues, hamstring issues, that, the third. And when he wrote that, man, like, that was a moment for me where I was like, I remember just calling him and just going, bro, you didn't have to do that. He's like, I know. He's like, but you did. So that should speak to, like, the advancement of how we take players. Chris Paul's another guy. Like, he's been so great to us and supporting us through the years. Like, when he came to me in 2000, I think it was like 19, he went through like his 5th hamstring strain. He was just like, enough's enough. And we got him right, and he hasn't had one since. And yeah, I remember he was on a podcast. He's like, man, DBC saved my career. And to me, like, those things are my why. Like, I love to take an athlete and put them onto a level they never thought was capable of. So when you get those sort of compliments, like, I just posted something about that, like, the best marketing is word of mouth. Like, the fact that, like, D put me in his book, like, that's something, like, I'm forever grateful for. He didn't have to do that, and that speaks to the type of person he is. Yeah. Like, that's a guy who's always putting everyone on around him. Like, but those moments, I think, speaks to our system. It speaks to who we are and what we're capable of.
Yeah, that's like an official stamp on that. The system works.
Yeah.
And this is why.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, man. Those are some good feelings right there.
So are these certification programs available to the public, or is only for?
Yeah, no. So it's wide open. I think right now our level 1, I think God, I think it launched in 2016, maybe 17. We have over 3,000 coaches worldwide now. So we're very, like, we have one coming up November 2nd, November 3rd. We've been very blessed. They always sell out. We usually only put about 20 to 25 people in a course because for me, the details are very important. It's a very hands-on course. It's very, a lot of practical work. So I don't want to pack in 70 people and not be able to answer every question in depth, not be able to show every detail in depth. So we do put a cap on it. But we have people come all the way from Dubai, London, Italy, Spain, South America, Brazil, Argentina. Like, it's great. Every course in the beginning, we ask who's from where. It's like a melting pot of the world. It's awesome, man. It's fun, dude. It's probably like, again, it's one of those things for me, every time I stand in front of one of those classes, I'm so humbled by these people that are making this investment to come learn from myself and my team, because I remember being them. I remember being 22 years old and going, okay, cool, you could have a college degree and you can have all these things, all this education, but it didn't give me the foundation to train people. It didn't teach me the business. So to provide that opportunity, man, it's the most rewarding feeling.
Now, do business owners also come to get that done as well?
It's cool, man. Yeah, the certifications, we have one guy, his name's Ryan Holderman. He makes it mandatory that his coaches have all of the education, as well as the business stuff to work at his facility. Another place called, I think it's MSF in Chicago, they do the same thing. Like, you have to have a DBC level 1 to work there. Wow. So that type of support, like, man, I'll do anything for those guys.
Yeah, you know? and they're trusting your system for their facility.
Yeah.
So that speaks to what you're doing.
Yeah.
How hard is it to maintain right now the DBC name in your other locations? Because you said you had one also, another facility in...
Two. We have one in San Diego, one in Northern California.
Right. So
yeah, how
hard is it to manage that? What kind of team is over there?
Yeah, it's great. So the guys in San Diego, I actually grew up with one of the owner, Casey Perlette. I grew up with his brother. So for me, it was a no-brainer. He was a CrossFit guy. He owned a CrossFit, and he reached out. I think they're on their year 4 now. He's like, hey, I'm thinking about maybe pivoting. And I took a look at his shell, and I was like, hey, let's turn your CrossFit into a DBC. I had one conversation with him, and he has that thing. He's a fucking smart business guy, dude. And for me, I'm like, if I'm going to get into business with you, I need to not ever have to have a conversation with you. And I never did. This guy is fucking thriving. His partner, Drew, they are thriving. I think they have like 17 coaches. I was just recently out there. I went and saw it. It's fucking, it's Miami. And that was very important for me as I've expanded the brand. I needed other owners that have my lens, that are as detailed, that are prepared to be a fucking asshole, because if you're not, then your business isn't going to level up. And that also is compassionate and well-rounded enough to know how to lead people and care enough about their success, not just your business. Casey and Drew are those guys. Same with Joey Serd out in Northern California. He probably might be more detailed than me. Really? I went into his facility in Petaluma, and I was like, holy shit, I got to step up. Like, he had I have like the air freshener and the AC. He had this thing spraying the minute you come through the door. Like, those little things mattered. You know, the towels were all perfectly folded and it smelled a certain way. Like, you could eat off his floor. So again, like, when I was looking for strategic partners and other potential owners, it was like, who am I going to never have to worry about? Those are those guys. And that's why I haven't franchised yet, because I don't want someone to go to, DBC Houston and they go, man, this place smells like shit. They don't care. Trainers are all wearing different shit. They're eating. Nah, I can't do that. I care too much about the brand. So I was very lucky with the 3 owners being Casey, Drew, and Joey. These guys are me, just look a little different. Yeah.
Did they ever come to Miami? I mean,
they come out all the time. Yeah.
So they kind of come absorb the brand, go back.
Yeah.
I think that at that level is a very friendly competition, right? Yeah. At some level, like, okay, if he's doing that, I got to level. It's kind of like an accountability system. Yeah,
they're great, man. They pop in, both sets of guys. They come out and they just come to see how it is, and then they'll go back and take that information. Like, when I was just out in San Diego, and the thing is with those guys, and I'll speak to Casey and Drew first when I was out there, I think in business, you can't be sensitive. Like, you got to be willing to take it on the chin. Like, I went in there and I was like, hey, we should do this. They fucking did it all in 30 days. I was like, let's paint the place black. because they had the original graffiti, because that was kind of our brand in the beginning. I said, hey, let's paint it black. Get these 2 pieces of machine. Let's move here. Like, trust me. They didn't even, like, they could have been like, who the fuck is this guy coming in telling us this, that, and the third? Not only did they not react that way, they took it in such a positive way, and then they executed. That speaks to the type of owners they are. Like, they care enough about those trainers working with them that they took my advice because they see the success we have in Miami. So clearly it's working. And they didn't even quite, they invested their own money and they just sent me a photo the other day. The whole place is painted. New things are in there. I was like, there you go. Yeah. So to me, like, those are the type of people I want to be in business with.
Yeah, absolutely. People who get shit done.
Yeah, get shit done, man.
Yeah. So you went from graffiti to now just clean. It looks like clean. I remember when I walked into DBC.
Have you been in the new one?
Not the new one.
Yeah, we got to have you over.
Yeah. I went to the one prior.
Yeah.
And the facility was already all black. It was very
it? Okay.
Yeah, I felt like I was walking into like the Bat Cave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But clean.
Yeah.
You know, super dope.
Yeah, so I pivoted that. Like, originally when I first opened it, it was I had this street artist, Jonah, I forget his last name. He was sick. I wanted a unique feel. So in 15, when I built it, it was all white. He just came and painted and drew. And the reason why I did that from a branding standpoint, I wanted that when a photo was taken, people knew that was DBC. So much that within that year, like 7 different gyms in Miami hired this guy to paint their gyms the same way. And I was like, motherfucker. So I call this guy. I was like, bro, why are you like, he's like, but he's an artist. Like, when am I gonna tell him not to fucking eat? Yeah, he's like, man, I was like, can you do a different theme? It was his art. Like, he had one style. But when you saw that, you knew it was DBC. So all of a sudden I started getting tagged and stuff. Like, oh, there would be an athlete in a different spot. Like, oh, DBC. I'm like, it's not DBC.
Damn.
So that's when I was like, I'm like, I got to pivot. And in fact, to go back even further in that, I used to have green turf. So I had the facility, had green turf, had the graffiti. And then 2 years later, and this is the best compliment, right? They say imitation is the best form of compliment.
Yeah.
A lot of gyms started to build theirs to replicate mine a little bit. And at first I was so defensive. I'm like, what the fuck? But I'll never forget, I was somewhere with D Wade, and D Wade's like, hey bro, you got to pivot. Like, you got to change a turf up or something. We should do like a cold ass turf. Like, you got to get rid of the green. All these gyms are starting to look the same. Cause at this point D was still in the league and I was traveling with him. We'd go to gyms and, you know, we'd be on the road. He's like, man, this one looks like a DBC. My 40th birthday, I had a big party. And during the middle of the party, he pulled me aside. He's like, hey, come here, I want to show you something. I was like, all right, I'll never forget this. This speaks to who D Wade is, the fucking nicest human being on the planet. Takes me to a corner, opens up a piece of paper, and it's the black turf. So he bought me that for my 40th birthday.
Oh, that's super dope.
So he's like, bro, we got to pivot. He goes, I can't have people looking like my dog. But I was like, oh my God. Like, I literally was like, you got to be fucking shitting me. He's like, no, it's getting installed Monday. Yeah. Monday morning, man, company came in, ripped that green turf out, laid down that black one, and now it's the brand.
Yeah, that's super cool.
So that was one of those moments, and also understanding when you need to pivot, right? And since then, that's when I'm always now, like, the next step after that, I painted the place black. The next thing after that, I removed certain things, was more strategic how I do my jerseys. Like, if you ever pay attention to my jerseys, like, it's not just a signed jersey. Any jersey on that wall will have a photo of that athlete in their training and then a game photo of them. So there's a little more details to it. Like, that's
love that, man. That sounds amazing. I definitely got to come check it out.
Yeah.
So you've trained a lot of top tier individuals. I mean, would you mind, just kind of like, who has come to see you personally, obviously in the top tier athlete side?
I've been very lucky, man. Even before I had DBC, like, I was lucky to work with guys like LeBron, with D Wade, Chris Paul, Donovan Mitchell. I hate even talking about it because I'm humbled because some of the most like powerful and top level athletes trusted their health with me, even if it was for one session. That to me, like, that's everyone's dream. So to this day, like, I never take that shit for granted. And I see some people do, like, I tell trainers, I go, never think you're more important than the talent. Because at some point, some trainers start to, right? They start to get a little complacent. They think, like, all of a sudden you forget that that's D Wade. Like I never forgot that was fucking D Wade. Any session, I was on time. I was ready to execute at the highest level. I never forgot who the fuck that was and how lucky I was to have that guy trust me with his health. So for me, I don't take that for granted. Even now, he's a retired businessman. If he calls me and says, hey, let's get some work, that's still fucking D Wade.
Yeah.
And I don't forget that. So I think like, I hate like name dropping it because I've been very lucky, even with entertainment celebrity. Like I'm blessed, man.
I will say I'm the one asking, so at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, I'm also curious, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing, but it also speaks to like, if those people are trusting you with their health, with their body, with their growth, with that extra fine tuning, it speaks to what you're doing, you know? So that's important.
Yeah.
Now, what about the average person that's coming in? And I'm, you know, they're not top tier talent, but they're everyday person trying to, you know, level up.
Yeah. That's the whole brand, man. You just summed it up right there. So I have 28 trainers here in Miami now, in which 80% of our business is general population. So when I was establishing the brand, it was around the athletes, and it was off the, you know, a lot of the likeness of the athletes and the success we had with the athletes. And what we started to see was there was this huge influx of general population that goes, I want the same training as Dwyane Wade. I want the same training as Chris Paul. I want this, you know. And so you realize that, you know, for me, I was like, I need people to support that. Like if you come into DBC, it's maybe 3 professional athletes and, you know, 300 general pop. Like, you know, Jordy, you've been in there. It's crazy. The general population's like my favorite because they're the energy to the place too. In fact, the professional athletes come because of the energy of our general population clients, and because it's such a community where no one asks for autographs. There's no phones out. Like that shit I don't tolerate. Like, you know, don't approach. But the athletes are more excited to be in there than the general pop, because these general pop are putting in the same work that these athletes are putting in. So it creates a super unique dynamic of people just getting after it every hour. So I think what really makes the place so unique is like, you know, if it's Odell Beckham walks in, like nobody freaks out. Everyone's like, cool, man, just gonna do the same shit I'm doing right now. So that was important for me too, is that I don't care who comes through the door. Everybody has to feel, and we have to exceed the expectation of their client, right? And I've spoken about this before. Like when I ran Sports Club LA, we had to go through hospitality training at the Four Seasons. And I learned, it was one of the best. Every trainer should have to do that. But if you ever watch how Four Seasons operates, it's elite. I'm sure you've stayed at one before. It's elite. You get into an elevator at the Four Seasons, an employee won't even get in that same elevator. We'll get the next one.
Yeah.
They know your name. Like you walk in there and you're like, hey, Mr. Alexander. You're like, what the fuck? But they had your name on a checklist coming in. So for me, I was like, this needs to feel like a Four Seasons. So when you walk in, there's a smell right away. It needs to smell a certain way. Everyone knows your name. We're all interacting. Like that's so important to me. Like, and that goes back to the earlier part of we're not competitive. Like some trainers will be like, why are you saying hi to my client? Like we interact with each other's clients. How are you? This, like everyone knows everyone's name. The clients are interacting. So for me, it's like everyone is in there to enhance their life. Like this got to be fun. Like I want it to feel like happy hour in there. Like the most exciting part of your day better be when you come to DBC. And if we don't accomplish that from an owner through the rest of our coaches, then we failed somebody. So I think that's what makes the place so unique, because it doesn't matter if you're a pro athlete or general pop. Everybody has one goal in there.
Yeah, and I think it's great to be able to, even as an outsider looking in, if the average person is getting the same treatment as an athlete, that's what you're looking for, man. Yeah. That's what you want. The same respect, the same training.
Yep.
And, you know, they may not be going to, you know, work at a championship, but at the same time, they're in their own. I think everybody's the hero of their own journey, and they need to be the best that they can be.
And it feels good, man. Like I'm going to age myself right now. There was a show on TV called Cheers back in the day. And there was this guy, Norm, he used to come into the bar all the time. And I remember Norm, and he was the most important person. Every day he walked in at 5 o'clock for happy hour. And I was like, I want everyone to feel like Norm. I want everyone, you come through that door, I tell my coaches, make eye contact. Even if they're not your client, make eye contact, greet them, and ask how they are. That's not hard to do. Because nowadays, dude, everyone's so caught in their own shit, right? Everyone's just staring at their phones, and like people aren't interacting. And then for me, it's like, I mean, you can ask anyone in there. I go around and I do my best to talk to everybody. I mean, there's sometimes where I'm just so locked in on business and or my client that I can't. But when I go in there, I try to like go talk to every trainer, talk to every client. Like I love people, man. I love it. Like I want to learn. Like, what'd you do today? How's your day? Like I love to interact. So I try to make sure that my coaches are the same way.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
48. I saw the picture. So I know that you were in a situation where you're like, oh, my stress levels were, getting
I was fat.
Yeah,
you say it, Steve.
You were.
Say it, Steve.
You
I gotta
fat.
own it.
Yes, but you came out, man. Like, you did a turnaround. What year was that?
This year, I'm 9 months in.
9 months in.
Yep. So I did a post about it recently. I did it on my birthday.
Yeah, I saw.
I lost like 30. I'm almost at 35 pounds, and I think at no point should anyone ever blame why they got fat or out of shape. And I did it. And that's why I created a program called Stacking Days, because it's all about giving the blueprint and framework for guys like myself, middle age, that may have lost their way and don't know how to get back, or people that just don't know how to get there and maybe never ever had it. Me growing up, I was always in shape. I was always an athlete. I always had a good body. I was healthy. But when I started DBC, like the fucking wheels fell off because I was so locked in on the business. And what I mean by that is, and you're a businessman, I was skipping workouts for more clients, more Zoom calls. I was stress eating at night. I started making a little money, so I would be more entitled. Like, oh, I can go out to dinner. I can do this. I can do that. And next thing I know, I didn't have a jawline, and my fucking stomach was going over my belt. And I was like, what the fuck? And I'm still mad at my wife because she should have checked me. You should have checked me. My wife never said nothing. So it was like, for me, and I remember the moment. We went to a Christmas party in 2023, and there were photos, whatever. And I got the photos back, and there was a fucking photo, dude. I don't know what clicked in it for me, but when I saw that photo, I'm like, I'm done.
Right.
And I remember, I'm a big believer that if you don't speak it into existence and or put it on social media to hold yourself accountable, then you're not going to. I did a post. I was sitting in my hot tub, and I did a post of, I'm going to lose 30 pounds in 3 to 5 months. And I documented the whole journey to a point. I remember like one day on my social media, I told people, hey, if you're bored of seeing my shit, don't look, because this is what it takes to get back. So every day it was my cold plunge. It was 2-a-day workouts. It was boiled eggs. It was all this discipline I needed. But more importantly, it was like the mineral guide and all that. And sure enough, I dropped the 35. I'm never fucking going back, dude, because now I have balance. Like now I understand, like you can still be a killer in business and be that 1%. And you can do it even better if you put yourself first. And people respect you more when, especially as a trainer, like you can't be a fat trainer, dude.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
And I was that guy. And I remember after I lost weight, I did a post about it, and someone's like, oh, well, now that you're skinny, now you're talking shit. And I go, listen, I feel bad for any client that trusted me with their health when I'm sitting there with a fucking gut. Cause yeah, I had the brain, I'm smart enough, and I had the know-how, but like, how am I motivating you if I wasn't looking the part?
Yeah.
And I even more so at my age of 48, so I think it speaks a little more. And a buddy of mine and I talked about, like, shout out to every 20 and 30-year-old that is ripped and doing posts about this and that. Talk to me when you're fucking over 45 and you got a family and a pantry. Because that pantry.
Yeah, because if you could get over that at that age, right?
Yeah, man. And it's like genetically, we all look a certain way in our 20s and 30s. And again, shout out to all of them, kicking ass and fucking with your abs. But I think it just carries a little more weight for guys that are my age and or lost it, because now I can show, and I did it holistically. I didn't take shit. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I support anyone that if your thing is to go to a hormone specialist or you want to take those, whatever you do to make you a better, happier person, for me, it was important to do it a holistic way. So for me, I was like, you know what? I'm going to show that you don't need to do it that way, that you can do it with just discipline of your food, discipline of your work ethic, prioritizing sleep, hydration, recovery. It took a little longer, but it's the best. It's literally the best I've ever felt. Yeah. It's like the clarity I have it's insane.
I think kudos and respect to you putting it out also too, because it's an accountability factor for yourself.
Bro, listen,
but that's amazing.
one of my boys hit me and was like, I cannot believe you put that photo on social media. I was like, bro, I don't care. Like, I was fat. Fuck. And fuck you for not telling me. You guys let me walk around like that for 5 years. Right. So for me, it was important. Like, I wanted to tell a real story. Like, I was like, I have no shame. So yeah, I was fat, but now I'm not.
What does success mean to you?
Oof. For me, having the respect of the people I love. That's what matters. I don't care about money. I don't care about how big my brand is. If the people I love don't respect me on how I do it and how I got there, it doesn't matter. I think that's the most important thing. And it starts with your family first and then your friends. If they don't look at you and tell you they're proud of you and or that you inspire them or motivate them, you know, why are you doing it? I'm not built for money. Money is a tool that creates freedom for me to create memories with the people I love. That's how I view money. That's it.
It's a resource.
It's a resource.
That's all it is.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is next for DBC right now? What is the next move?
Expand the brand. I definitely want to get into 3 more markets. I want to get into Arizona. I want to get into Vegas, and I want to get into New York. I think the facilities would thrive in those areas. And I love creating and building to expand the business side for young trainers. So like I said, I have the Empire Seminar coming up November 9th.
Love the name, by the way.
Dude, listen, I love it. I need a hat.
Yeah, I got you.
And for me, like to help give young coaches the blueprint to not make the mistakes I made that took me 25 years to get here. And hopefully we can amplify it and get them there faster. And then to build my team around me. Like a lot of people say it, but I mean it. Like where I go, you go. So if I'm going up, everyone that's with me, you're fucking coming with me. And if you're not prepared to do what it takes to come with me, you're gonna get left behind. And that right now is, you know, what drives me when I get up in the morning is those 3 things: just expand the brand, expand the business, and expand the people around me.
I wanted to ask you one last thing. I've seen you train at Elevation.
Yeah.
How important is it for you to train at other gyms, being that you're a gym owner?
Yeah.
Because you would think, you know, from outside looking in, I would be like, oh, if I have my own gym, I'm gonna do my own session. I'm gonna stay there all day, you know, kind of thing. But
yeah,
you go to
every day. I love Elevation. Yeah. So any gym owner will tell you why they don't work out in their own gym. And I feel bad for Angel because I see him all the time. If I worked out in my own gym, I would still be fat because I wouldn't be able to get the work done because it's your place of business. So number one, my eyes on everything I need to be doing. If I'm in there, I can't unplug. I'm going to be looking going, fuck, that wall needs to be painted. That machine's out of place. There's dust over there. Like I'm not wired for that. Like I see everything. Number 2, that environment is my home in the sense that all the trainers and clients, we talk. So I'm going to interact. And I'm not the type, if I'm in my business that have headphones in, I want to interact with you. And then number 3, Elevation for me is the grit I needed to reach my own personal goals. Like you walk in there, you train there, we see each other every day. People are fucking getting after it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it's not like one of these other like social media gyms where everyone is like filming content and this and that. Like people are fucking working. And I love that. At my age, I'm 48. I need to look and see a guy like you training just as hard. So I'm like, all right, I can't be a bitch. I gotta get it. Yeah. So and I live up north. I live in Aventura. I drive down to go work out because that place, as the same thing DBC does for our clients, that place does that for me, for my personal stuff, because I can't be in the place of business that I need to constantly thrive and grow. I need to be in a different environment.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I love it there.
Yeah, and I had Angel here when we had a great time with the podcast. Very respectful person. So,
yeah,
you know, really, really cool. That gym has a vibe.
It's such a great vibe. Yeah. And I think that's the other part too, is like a lot of owners, like, why are you not supporting other gyms?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not competing with anyone. Like, I want, if there's so much business in the fitness, health, and wellness space, just around DBC, there's 12 different gyms. We're all thriving. Like, I'm not competing against anyone. So I think it's great to go in and support someone else's business, right? Show some love to them, post it. Like, why not? If you don't, it's because you're insecure.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're worried about them being better than you. And if you don't, you're worried about them taking your business and or passing you up in business. Because there's some gym owners, you'll never catch them dead in another facility because they know you're not doing business the right way. If you're doing business the right way, you're not concerned with that.
Absolutely. And that's the abundance and winners mindset. So,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Advice to somebody starting out right now. And they're like, you know what? I'm thinking about being a trainer. Is this going to be a good business to get into? AI looks like it's taking over everything. What's happening?
Yeah.
Any advice for new people starting off right now?
Yeah. I think anyone who's getting into the industry, this is one of the best industries to thrive in. Fitness, health, and wellness is never going anywhere. Even with AI, if anything, it's going to enhance us. Get yourself into an environment and or around people that have the same goals you have and or can catapult you to where you want to be. Don't get around an environment where everyone's pulling each other down. Like, you're only going to be as good as the place you're in. I think a lot of trainers lose time by going to what feels comfortable versus like some trainers. Like, DBC is not easy. Like, you're walking into what I feel is the top of the industry and you're working alongside some of the best coaches, and that can be intimidating. So the trainers that come in there, they're wired a different way because they want that challenge. So to someone who's getting into it, don't go where it's comfortable. Go where you're going to be challenged and then intimidate you a little bit, because that means they're going to elevate you.
Oh, I think that's amazing, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm humbled by having you here.
Man, I
Tons of
appreciate
respect.
you having me, bro.
Love
Thank
it.
you, dude.
I want to come check out obviously you want to come check out the facility.
Yeah, anytime.
And yeah, man, I have a lot of respect for you, what you've done. I can't wait to see what you're doing in the future.
Thank you,
and
bro.
hopefully on the 10-year anniversary, we'll do a part 2 to see how it went.
Let's do it, man. You're going to get the
Awesome.
invite, so make sure
Yes,
you check your email.
absolutely,
I
brother.
appreciate you having me, dude.
No, for sure, 100%.
thank
man.
you.
Nothing but respect and love, bro.
Appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely, man.
All right, bro. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Appreciate it, bro.
This was awesome.
All day, every day, Empire is the way.